Hey, hello everyone. I'm Diego Sampaio, co-founder here at Globalfy. I have the pleasure of having with me here today Eva Sampaio, my co-founder.
Hey everyone.
And also Rodrigo Garcia, one of our sales specialists.
Hey guys, nice to meet you all.
Well, first of all, we'd like to say I'm sorry for the delay. We have some minor technical problems, but we are all good now, and we are happy to be here sharing more about doing business in the US. So this is our monthly webinar where we share the step-by-step, the process of setting up a company in the US and managing it and doing business in the US. I think more important than start is to make it grow, right? And Globalfy is here to help you through all that journey. Today we're going to have here a 45-minute talk where we're going to share the step-by-step from the business formation up to the banking, up to open up your bank account. We're going to cover LLCs, corporations, tax, virtual address, banking services, and so on. This is going to be like a light chat where we're going to be exchanging experience. Myself and Eva, we started Globalfy 10 years ago, so there's a lot of knowledge that we'd like to share with you. And Rodrigo, that is our sales specialist that serves a lot of our European and English, European and Canadian English speakers customers. We'll be sharing some of his insights and some of the main questions that he gets from our clients and our leads. Okay, so well, I would like just to make sure that I kindly ask you to start by subscribing to our channel. So in the past month, we added almost 1,000 new subscribers. And I mean, liking this video and sharing this with your friends, colleagues, and relatives that may benefit for starting and building a company in the US. And so, Eva, would you mind telling us a little bit more about Globalfy? What do we do?
Sure. So this year we're celebrating 10 years, our 10th anniversary at Globalfy. We've been helping international founders to set up and run their business in the US since 2015. We have helped more than 10,000 entrepreneurs and from over 100 different countries. And we are here to support you on setting up your business in the US, business formation. We do the accounting, we do taxes, we fill out all the tax returns, the state renewals. We also provide registered agent services, virtual address, everything that you need to be able to run your business, to focus on your growth, and we take care of the bureaucracy and all the paperwork necessary to run your business in the US.
Yes, that's true. And as I like always to remind is that we've been through the process of living outside the US and wanting to sell at that time a technology, a software as a service in the US. And it was pretty hard doing that as a company from Latin America. So that's when we started the journey of registering our company and learning everything that was around it, and most important, learning the importance of having someone really good guiding you to the process, providing you service that will help you not just to focus on your business, but to make sure that everything is okay with your company, with IRS, and with the State Department of Revenue. Important to mention that this content was prepared exclusively for business owners that are not US residents, okay? So we are considering here that you're living Latin America, Europe, Asia, but not specifically in the US. If you are a US citizen, if you are a US resident, there are some different guidelines and rules in terms of taxes that will not apply for who are not a resident. And at Globalfy, we are focused in helping international entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs from outside the US that are forming and expanding the business into the US. Okay? Well, I would like you to first asking something to Rodrigo. Rodrigo, what is the kind of, I mean, what are the main areas that our leads come to talking to you? Are they doing commerce, software? I mean, what are they planning to do with their American company?
Okay, okay, I'm unmuted. Just checking. So one of the main reasons that customers comes to us looking to open a business in the U.S. is mainly I could say that they need to access the American market. So the American market is really big, and they want a share on that. So they want to sell products in the U.S. or maybe they have a contract with a American business, and for those American business, some of they will pay you internationally, but some of them it's easier if they pay a company in the U.S. So
Sure.
usually they from you to open a company in the U.S. Or maybe you just want to go international. You know, you want to sell your product on Amazon as an example. Being an American company makes these things way easier. And lastly, some of our customers just wanted to invest in the American market, buy shares on some companies, or just make their make their money in dollar, which is a strong currency. So those are the main reasons that I can think about.
And it's really interesting because when we're talking, let's say, when we are serving customers in Portuguese, they're going to be mostly from Brazil or from Portugal, and they have one reason to start a business in the US. When you go to Spanish, if we're considering the reason that people from entrepreneurs from Latin America versus entrepreneurs from
Yeah,
Spain, again,
true.
it's a completely different need, right? And then when we're speaking English, I mean, in English, we are serving customers from actually all over the world. But someone, an entrepreneur from, let's say, Canada, or entrepreneur from Italy or Germany or UK, and then when we go, let's say, to UAE or India, I mean, each one, they have a different need to set up an entity in the US. Some, as Rodrigo mentioned, is to expand their business into the US. Others is because they want to use that business to do business in a global level, not just in a local level or just in American level. So I mean, it's I brought here some numbers and
Just a
for sure.
reminder, we have the poll on our YouTube
Oh yeah, it's true.
asking about your area. If you are an e-commerce, technology, software, service business, it helps us to tailor the live and answer questions related to the kind of business that you have.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it's true. Thanks for a remind. So if our team can put on the poll, that's going to be really, really helpful. So I mean, I separate here in two different areas. So e-commerce, then software as a service, and digital business, right? So online business. So just in terms of understanding a little bit more about the US market for e-commerce, if you get Europe, it's a $1 trillion a market. The whole Europe, right? With different regulations in each country, with different languages and so on. When you get only to the US, you have like $1.1 trillion in sales last year in e-commerce. Then, of course, when we compare to Latin America, to other countries, the difference is even bigger. So the American market is huge. Of course, there's a lot of competitions, but there's a huge opportunity, and the consumers, they spend money online. They like to buy, and they are open to buy different products. So that's one of the reasons that a lot of our e-commerce clients, they set up their business in the US. Of course, you can sell on Amazon US using the global selling service. But when you have an American entity, you are also open to sell in different marketplaces. You are also open to set up your Shopify store, to sell on eBay or Wayfair or, Etsy. There's a bunch of different marketplaces. So having a company in the US may help you towards that goal. Then, of course, the US has way less customs bureaucracy than a lot of countries and a simpler and profit-based taxation. And this is something that caught a lot of our European customers' attention, right? Because they're looking to pay less taxes. Even more when they're doing sales globally. So the way that US tax, and we're going to cover that later on, it's way favorable than a lot of different areas. And of course, the US, you have the ability to run your business fully remotely with inventory inside the US or abroad. And also, you don't have a minimum investment. So different than some countries in Europe where you have to invest a certain amount of money. In the US, you can start with 50 cents or with $1. So it's pretty accessible. Then when we go to digital services and software, a lot of our clients, let's say, who we can cover this? Like a software developer, someone doing marketing service online?
Exactly. Anyone working on digital marketing or selling trainings or any sort of online services that could be provided from your home country to customers, either in the US or in different countries. any sort of consulting, anything, technical services, anything that can be done remotely can use a US structure to run that business.
Yeah, it's true. And again, those customers, they're gonna usually be looking to set up an entity in the US because they understand and they learn actually from their experience. Their American companies, they like to hire local due to tax, compliance, and legal reasons. So having an entity in the US, even though you may live abroad and perform their services from abroad, will definitely help you to get those contracts. Another thing is that having a strong US brand or having customers in the US will help you towards your brand perception. So if you're providing services, let's say from German, right? Although German is a huge country, but let's go with German. If you're selling services from German and you have only German-based customers, you have one valuation. You have your brand is perceived as a German brand. Once you have customers in the US, and that is your gateway to start working with other countries, then you have a global perception. It's like Globalfy, right? Although we are a US-based company, we have customers in over 100 countries. So I mean, having that diversity is pretty strong. It's pretty good for a brand, and it will definitely help you, also help your brand. Then you have access to payment platforms like Stripe. But I mean, for Europeans, that's not that much problem. But having a company in the US will definitely help you to get into the American market, and which is usually the goal from a lot of our clients. Then, of course, when we're talking about startups, micro SaaS or SaaS, software as a service, I was actually in a conference in South Summit in Madrid, in Spain, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and a lot of the panels around investments were mentioned having a company in the US, usually a corporation or a LLC in Delaware, from day one, to help you to raise capital, to have your structure ready when it's time to get investments from investors. So a lot of the international funds like YC, Sequoia, and so on, they're going to require you to have an entity in the US to receive the investments. And again, US-based startups usually receive a higher valuation because they were able to validate their products or they're well established in the American market. So that would be, of course, really helpful. And another really important point here is how flexible the US is in terms of hiring people from abroad, like international contractors. So having a US entity will definitely help you to build a global team. So you can have your entity based in the US, and you can hire professionals from Latin America, from Europe, from Asia, in a way simpler way than we would do in some other countries. And then again, the payment processors, right? You're processing from the US, and when you're considering for like micro SaaS, so small products, let's say you're setting a micro SaaS and you're looking to sell that on acquire.com, you have greater chances of attracting buyers when it's time to exit if you have a US entity and if you have customers in the US or abroad. I mean, a lot of the buyers, they're not going to want to buy a Stripe account or to move the credit cards account from an account that is based in euros, for example, or based in other countries from Latin America. So having that American entity will definitely help you towards the process of exiting your company, your micro SaaS, when the time comes. So I mean, I would like just to bring that common knowledge regarding why our clients are starting the business in the US before we get into the real detail here of the process. So let's start here with a question to Rodrigo. Rodrigo, tell me, how long does it take to register a company in the US?
Okay, so it's gonna take between 2 to 4 weeks to open your company in the US, depending on the state that you choose, because of the process of getting the employer identification number, which is the EIN. It depends from state to state. So we usually ask for between 2 to 4 weeks to get everything set.
Yeah, so it's actually that to apply for the EIN, that is your federal number, you first have to have your company registered in the state.
Yeah.
So let's say Wyoming will take a business day to process the company registration. Delaware, up to 2 weeks. Florida, around 7 days, so a week. So only after you get the state registration, then we can apply for your EIN. So let's say the state registration will take anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks, and then the EIN application will take another 1 to 2 weeks, mostly. And that's of course the processing time now for June 2025.
Yeah,
So
during the tax season, like between January and April, the EIN letter usually takes longer, like between 4 to 6 weeks, because all the IRS processes got delayed, and the EIN is only one of them.
yeah, it's true. Perfect. Yeah, so it's gonna take anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks to have your company registered and be able to start applying for bank accounts and running your business. Another point here. So Eva, what documents do I need to start a business in the US?
So actually, to start a business, you don't need any sort of documents. You just need to provide your information. So we need the information about the owners of the company, the name of the company, address, the activities that you'll be performing. But it's important to keep in mind that although having, for example, a passport is not required to open the business, it will be required to open the bank account, or later if you are applying for an ITIN for the members of the company, for example. So it's really, really important to have a valid passport for all the members of your company, because it will be required when you are applying for a bank account or an ITIN in the future.
Perfect. So I mean, pretty simple.
Yeah, the process to open the business itself is really, really easy, really simple.
And it can be done 100% online, 100% remote. Okay. And again, regarding visa, just important to remind that you don't have to have a specific visa to register a company in the US. You can do that even without a visa or without ESTA. And that will also not be required to open up your bank account. Online, of course, if you're doing to Mercury or Lily or so on. But I mean, it may helpful to get to get a visa, even if it's a tourist visa or a B1, B2 visa or ESTA, because you may need to go to conference or visit suppliers or things like this. But to set up an entity and run an entity in the US, you are not required to have any sort of working authorization or visa in the US.
As long as you are working from outside of the country,
yes,
right?
Yes, of course.
As long as you're working outside the United States. If you plan to have a physical business location, if you plan to move to the United States, then it's a completely different thing. You're gonna need an attorney to help you with the immigration process. Is a completely different thing. Here we're talking about setting up a business and living outside the United States. Remember the disclaimer at the beginning, non-residents, right?
That's true.
Well, Diego, I have one common question from my customer is, what if my work is done all in the country where I am from, but I usually go to the US for maybe 1 month, or maybe like periods of 2 weeks between 3 months, and I do my work from there. Yeah, this is kind of tricky, so
Yeah,
I would like to hear from you about that.
It's tricky. Yeah, well, just a really important disclaimer here. We're not immigration attorneys, okay? So this is not a legal advice or any sort of advice, legal advice related to working in the US. But I mean, I think that this is something that has becoming more and more common because people work from their computers, right?
Yeah.
But if you from speaking with immigration attorneys, what I learned from them is that if you perform your service in the US, even if it's from your sole computer from your hotel room, that's considered working in the US. So I mean, there's a lot of different gray areas around that of course only an immigration attorney can help you towards answering those questions. But there's a plenty of different visas that you can apply, like O1, E2, L1, and so on, that may help you if you want to live in the US and work from the US. But our advice, talk to an immigration attorney. They're going to be definitely the better people, the best to help and guide you on that. Let's talk now about business structure, okay? So Eva, why is the LLC the most popular business structure?
Because it's the easiest way to operate. An LLC doesn't have as many requirements, as many compliance requirements as a corporation has. The LLC itself is a pass-through entity, which means that the business itself won't pay taxes, and all the net income, the profits, will be taxed under the individual tax returns for the members, okay? So if you have an LLC, you're going to pay taxes only on an individual level, not on the business level. On the other hand, if you have a corporation, you're going to pay corporate taxes. And then when you do profit distributions or dividends distributions, you're going to pay taxes once again. So this is one of the main reasons why people will prefer to work with an LLC structure.
Yeah, so I would say that probably over 95% of our customers, they ended by choosing an LLC because, as Eva mentioned, it's a more flexible and more simple structure in terms of compliance. And also, you don't pay taxes on a corporate level, only on the personal level. And there's one specific structure that you don't have to even pay tax. We're gonna cover that later on. But it's in general a simpler way to manage, to start
Exactly.
managing your business. Okay, and Rodrigo, do you get a lot of questions related to states? So, which states should I choose to register my business? Is this a common question? People come up asking for Delaware, Florida, Wyoming. How does it work?
Yeah, I would say that um, I would say fairly 80% of our customers, they come to us asking what state should I use for my company, because and some of them already have in mind. But for this 80%, usually what we say is Wyoming, Delaware, and Florida are the most popular. Starting from Florida, because Florida has all the logistic related things.
Has
Very strong over. Yeah, go ahead.
has a good logistics system when you're
Yeah,
comparing
logistics
receiving
system.
cargo from Latin America in general, right?
Yeah. That's correct. So usually they use there because they can ship their merchandise to Florida, and then from Florida it's easy to send to other states. And Delaware in Wyoming, they are popular, because because mainly of secrecy. So not all informations about your company
Privacy.
are open. Yeah, privacy. Yeah, not all informations are open to everyone. So if you want privacy, those are the best options. In Delaware, they have a strong legal system designed for companies. So every matters between that are related, to the partnership, they have to be done in the Delaware state, which has a strong legal system for that matter. So
Perfect. Yeah.
those
So
are the main three.
perfect. Yeah. So there's three states here, and actually Globalfy mainly works with five states: Wyoming, Delaware, Florida, Texas, and New Mexico. And and mostly Wyoming, Delaware, Florida, they have zero state income tax, right? So Florida is really well known around entrepreneurs from Latin America, mostly, as Rodrigo said, because the proximity, right, between the Florida and Latin America, and of course because of the proximity of the culture also. So Florida is really well known among entrepreneurs from Latin America. But then when you go to startups, technology companies, a lot of them coming asking for Delaware. And digital services, I mean, we've been working a lot with Wyoming. And the good thing is from Wyoming and Delaware, and that on top of having zero state income tax, they also have privacy, as Rodrigo mentioned, over the owner's information. So different than Florida, that you may look up on the Florida website and see who are the managers of the company. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in Wyoming and Delaware. Wyoming is also a good option for LLCs because of the maintenance fee. So in Delaware, you have to do what's called franchise tax. That costs $300 a year, right? It's like kind of state renewal. In Wyoming, that costs $60 a year. So it's way cheaper than in Delaware. Actually, and as we mentioned before, the registration process in Wyoming takes a business day, while Delaware, Delaware, the standard process is taking a month, 2 months.
We haven't used that in a while because it was taking over a month.
So
we only do applications with the express processing.
Yeah. So when you hire Globalfy, we pay for an express fee. That's 40 or 50 bucks, if I'm not wrong.
It's $100.
$100?
Yeah.
Okay, so we pay for that $100 on your behalf to make sure that your filings process in up to 2 weeks, right? A week or 2 weeks. Yeah. So I mean, look, Wyoming process same day, cheaper in terms of renewal, so $60, and has privacy over information and zero state income tax. They are really, really popular among investors, as Rodrigo said, for their corporate legal system, where they solve a lot of problems related to stakeholders, shareholders, between two shareholders, I'm sorry. And actually, Delaware is really well known also because it hosts more than 50% of the largest companies in the US. So Apple is based out of Delaware, Meta, Google, and so on, right? Even Tesla, right? So there's Elon Musk was fighting against Delaware because of some of their decisions from the legal system. So I mean, Delaware is really well known among investors. But Eva always says that her favorite state is Wyoming, mostly for those points that we mentioned before.
It's cheaper, it's faster, everything is online. It has pretty much everything that Delaware has to offer in a simpler way and in a cheaper way. So.
Yeah. That's true. And then Eva, I mean, when we mention that the company information is private, is it really private? What does it mean?
So yes, the information is really private. As Diego mentioned before, if you search up for a company in Delaware, in Florida, it will be 100% available on the state website. You can see the owners, the address, when the company was set up. All the information regarding that company will be available online in Florida. If you search up for a company that was registered in Delaware or Wyoming, you're not going to find that information available online, okay? It's not open records, it's not public records. But of course, anyone suing your company, they have legal ways to go through the company's documents and see who are the managers, who are the president, the secretary, the treasurer for the company, the administrator. So if you get into a legal problem, they have means to have access to the company data, but that's the only way. It's not publicly or largely available for anyone on the internet.
Perfect, Eva. Thanks so much. Now let's talk a little bit about taxes, right? Taxes and compliance.
My favorite part.
Your favorite subject. Rodrigo, let me start asking something for you, man. Does a lot of our leads come to us looking to pay less taxes? I mean, are they comfortable or they know about taxes in the US? What are the level of knowledge that they have when they're getting in touch with us?
Usually, the very few that know something, they know very little. I mean, they have an idea that, you know, you know what I mean, like respectfully, is that they know that you pay taxes over your profit, but rather than that, they don't have idea because it is different. Like it differs a lot between countries, and in the US, even though it's simpler than some other countries, it's still tricky for most of the customers. You know, there are taxes that you need to pay quarterly, withholding. There are taxes that you need to pay yearly. So that's actually very confusing for the customers.
No, yeah, it's true, and you know that's actually the main reason that we started Globalfy, is to help and to guide those international entrepreneurs to navigate the US system, right? Because it's completely different from their home countries. Yeah. So at Globalfy, we value a lot the guidance, the sharing knowledge, and that's actually why we do those webinars here, right? Because we want to make you feel comfortable to start your business. I want to feel secure that you know the minimum at least to start moving ahead, right? So Eva will share some of her knowledge related to taxes and the compliance of a company in the US. And this is going to be really important because at the end of the day, in the US, the owner of the company is the person responsible to sign the forms, not someone else. So it's important that you know at least the minimum what you're doing, and then you find a service provider where you can trust and make sure that they are guiding you towards the correct path, okay? So Eva, what are the annual obligations for a company in the US?
So let's start with the state, which is something common for all seasoned corporations. As Diego and Rodrigo just mentioned when we were discussing the best states for me, a business as a non-resident. So you're gonna do the annual renewal with the state, either the annual report or the franchise tax. And this renewal is mandatory. It doesn't matter if your company had operations or not on the previous year, okay? So for the majority of the states, the renewals will be between January and April. And Wyoming, for example, will be on the company anniversary. And it's mandatory that you do the business renewal. You pay a small fee depending on the state. It's going to be $300, for example, in Delaware, $60 in Wyoming, $138 in Florida. And this is the state renewal for LLCs and corporations. Then we go to the income tax. As we mentioned before, the taxes are paid only on your profits. So you're going to take all the deductions, all the expenses related to your company will be deducted before you get your net income, and then you're going to pay taxes on it. One important thing to remember is that the income tax return is filed once a year at the beginning of the next year, but the tax payments, they must be done as you go during the current tax year. So as soon as your business start making profits, it's important that you start to do either the quarterly withholdings if it's a partnership, an LLC with 2 or more members, or the estimated tax payments, which will be done for an LLC with only 1 member or for corporations. So for LLCs with only 1 member, you're going to pay taxes from 10 to 37%, depending on the amount of profits that you have. Partnerships, you're going to withhold 37% along the year. And then at the beginning of next year, you're going to file your tax return. You're going to get a refund directly in your bank account with the difference between the amount you owed and the amount that was paid. And for corporations, it's 21% flat. It doesn't matter how much profits did you make. And it's going to be 20% as a corporate level. And if you do profits distribution, it's going to have a tax withholding around 30%. It depends if your country has tax treaties with the US or not.
Perfect. So, yeah, I mean, you have the state level obligations and then also the federal level.
Yeah, and if you have a corporation, you're going to mostly pay income tax to the state too. So state income tax, for example, in Florida, it's going to be 4.5% around that.
But Delaware?
Delaware doesn't have it.
Perfect. Yeah. And then how does income tax work for a non-resident with an LLC?
So as I mentioned before, LLC, it's going to pay taxes only on the individual level. One very common question that we get is like, for example, if my company had $100,000 in profits and I didn't take that money, I kept inside of the bank account, for example, and I will reinvest that next year. It doesn't matter. If you got the net income, you're going to pay taxes on that. And what you do with that money later, it's on you. If you're going to take part of it as profit distribution, reinvest part of it, it doesn't matter. If you had net income, you're going to pay taxes on it. And in a corporation, as we mentioned before, it's different. The corporation is going to pay 21% flat. And then if you distribute profits, the individuals receiving the profits are going to pay taxes on that amount again. One important structure that we need to mention here are the LLCs with only 1 owner, and the owner is a foreign company or a foreign corporation. In this case, even though you have an LLC in the United States and it's going to be an LLC with the state, for example, for the state renewals, you're going to pay federal income tax and state income tax as a corporation, as a foreign corporation. So if you have an LLC and the owner is a foreign company, it's going to be 21% flat rate on the profits. And then if it does profit distributions, it's going to have the 30% withholding depending on the tax treaty.
Perfect. So let's say in an LLC with 2 members, $200,000 in net profits on that year. Each one will get $100,000. Let's say if they're equal partners, each one will get $100,000, and then each one will pay taxes on that $100,000.
Exactly. They're going to withhold $37,000, which is the 37% withholding. But they're going to pay around $22,000 on that $100,000. And they're going to get $15,000 in refund.
At the end of the day, they're going to pay $20,000 in income tax, right?
Yes, the effective rate will be that.
Perfect. So that's around 22% in that case, right? Because again, it goes from 10 to 37%. In a corporation, if they get the same $200,000, they're going to pay 21% on top of the $200,000. That would be $40,000. So about the same tax, right? The same level, because it was a partnership with 2 members.
Yes,
yeah,
but
so each one paid 22 over there. Here's going to be 40 something. But if then the shareholders, the owners get paid
dividend
distribution, then they're going to pay again at a different level.
They will be taxed another time. It's like double taxation. It's how it's called.
That's pretty clear. Guys, I would like just to remind you that you can share your questions here in the chat. we'll be more than happy to help you and answer all of them. And then this is that famous question, right?
Here comes your favorite question.
My favorite question. Let me start asking. Rodrigo, a lot of our clients or a lot of our leads, they ended by forming a single member LLC, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Perfect. And do they ask this question?
A lot.
How can they not pay tax in the US?
A lot of times. A lot of times. And this is actually a tricky question. So
It is. Nice. So that I'm happy we have Eva here to answer. So Eva, in which situation a single member LLC doesn't have to pay taxes in the US?
So we got to set up some guidelines first. First of all, this is not a tax advising. I'm letting you know what are the requirements. I'm not saying you qualify for them, okay? So when you have a single member LLC with only one owner, non-resident, individual, okay, cannot be a company, providing services from outside the United States. In this case, even if you have an LLC and if you run all your revenue, so all the sales of your services go through that LLC, you're not required to pay taxes in the US. Why? Because the IRS regulations states that services are taxed on the country where they are executed, where they are provided, not where they are sold. So if you were doing your services from your home country, you're not subject to taxes in the US. But in some cases, it may be more advantageous for you to be taxed in the US than it is for you to be taxed on your home country. Because even though, let's say, you're free from taxes in the US, you still must pay taxes in your home country. And then in most countries, you're going to pay taxes on your gross revenue, right? While in the US, you are able to take all the deductions, all your expenses, even what you spend on advertising, paid traffic, other service providers that you hire, software subscription, any kind of expense that you have, computer equipments, all of that, they are deductible. And then you're going to pay taxes only on your net income. So sometimes it may be more advantageous for you to pay taxes in the US because then what is going to be reported on your home country is only that small net income that you had instead of having your gross income.
Yeah. And I think that of course that relates to the next question, right? If the entrepreneur, they have to pay taxes in their home country.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of misconceptions that if you live in, let's say, in Spain and you're providing services with a company in the US, you don't have to pay taxes anywhere, which is not true, right? So the majority of the case, you have tax residency in your home country. So unless you have a tax residence in Paraguay or Dubai or one of the islands that doesn't have income tax, and so unless you have residence in those countries and you don't spend more than usually 180 something days in, let's say, in your home country or
any other
country, you're gonna have to pay taxes somewhere, right? That's how it works. So as Ivan was mentioning, a lot of our clients, they're going to set up their U.S. entity. They may pay taxes in the U.S. Countries, they have, the majority of the countries that we serve, they have some sort of agreement or some sort of legislation that will not make you pay taxes twice. It's not that you're going to pay 25% in the U.S. and then another 40% in your home country, let's say in Portugal or whatever. It's usually one or another, or they're going to make a combination of where do you pay your taxes. So let's say from Brazil, the tax rate in Brazil is 27%. So if you pay 25% in the US, in Brazil, you're going to pay only 2%. You're not going to pay the other 27%.
Yeah, there is a compensation.
So yeah, something similar will happen, let's say, in Portugal or UK or France. I mean, there's a lot of agreements between the countries, treaties between the countries, that's not going to make you pay taxes twice, right? There are ways to work around that. So, as you mentioned, not all the times doesn't have a nexus in the US, and not paying taxes in the US will be beneficial. There are different ways of seeing that matter. It's really important that, of course, you may get in touch with one of our taxes professionals, and then if you're not our client, it's going to be a paid call. But I mean, you can get that knowledge prior to register your company, or if you hire one of our top package like Essential or Scale, you're gonna have that support inside your package.
And Diego, one question that I get a lot from my customer is, if I fulfill all the requisites to be exempt, does that mean that I'm gonna be exempt? Is it mandatory, or
No,
yeah, that's a
even.
really good question that I hear from.
Yeah.
No, actually, in the US, you are the one determining like what are your tax status, how much taxes you should pay, what are your net income. So you are the one that needs to understand or have someone or hire a professional that will understand the structure of your company and that will guide you to find the most beneficial tax rate legally, right? So we're going to try to find the best way for you to pay taxes, to pay less taxes in a legal way. But yes, it's not mandatory. It's not something that will exempt you and put you out of a box, for example. It's not how it works.
Perfect. And then, Rodrigo, this is I'm gonna leave this to you, man. Do you need an accountant to manage your company in the US? And then, can you connect that to the different level of customer service that we provide into our Essential and Scale plans?
Yes. So no, you don't need an accountant in the US. It's not mandatory. And talking about connecting about with your plans is when we're talking about the essential plan, rather than we're farming your company, and also we are helping you with all your tax related obligations activities. And while on the scale plan, we're gonna be working as your US accountant. In fact, so you don't need an accountant, but it's strongly recommended to have one because there are some fees if you do something wrong, and or if you are late on some declarations that can be up to $25,000. So it is highly recommended for you to have an accountant.
Yeah. So I mean, again, it's not mandatory to have an account in the US. So that's why we have three different levels of two different package that each one comes with a different level of service, right? So if you just need to set up your entity, you're not worried this time with taxes in the US or with accounting. We have the starter package that's going to include the business formation, the register agent for a year, the virtual address for a year. I mean, the basic package you need to start a company in the US. Then when you're looking for the freelancer or the essential plan, then we're gonna add a level of service in terms of taxes and state renewals. That was the compliance and the requirements that Eva was mentioned earlier. So on the freelancer package and essential package, we're gonna also cover the income tax for the company and the state renewal, so franchise tax or annual report for the first year of the company. Of course, on top of the as I mentioned before, on top of the support from our tax team. And then on the scale package, then it's going to be like a complete package with the accounting and bookkeeping service. So it's actually on the on the scale package, I'm sorry, that on top of having everything else, you're also going to have a full squad working towards the day by day of our operation. So I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, we are entrepreneurs. We don't like doing bookkeeping, handling, accounting, right? We have someone doing that for us for sure. So I mean, it's really important that you have someone taking care of your numbers, making sure that you're, as Rodrigo mentioned, fulfilling all requirements from the IRS and from your state. So the scale package will give you that peace of mind, right? It's going to make you feel comfortable about running your business because you know that if you need anything, if you have a questions related to invoicing, payment, taxes, or the day by day of your operation, you're gonna have a full squad of professionals that knows your company, understands your business to provide you that kind of service. Okay, and our professionals, they are full-time employees, right? So we don't work with third party.
Yeah.
Our professionals, they are certified and they are well trained to work with international founders that are working with digital, e-commerce, or investment companies. So I mean, we are pretty focused on a specific niche, and that's why we provide an outstanding customer service for our package. So let's talk a little bit more about banking, right? Rodrigo, what documents do I need to open a bank account in the US?
Okay, so as we talked in the beginning of our presentation, for you to open a bank account in the U.S., you will need a valid passport because this is the document that will bind like your individual to the bank account. And for the business bank account, you also need the employer identification number in order to open those bank accounts in the U.S. So
Perfect. So it's basically the company documents and the passports and a utility, and also a way to prove your home address. So usually a utility bill from your home country. What are other facts that our clients they should take in consideration when applying for a bank account, Eva?
Yeah, there are some other best practices that is important for you to keep in mind. So, for example, use your professional address, like your name at yourcompanydomain.com. Have your website up and running with all the information regarding your services. Let's say you don't have a website, but how do you acquire your customers? Because if you're working from abroad, you get your customers online, right? Where are you getting them? Where are you getting them from? Is it an Amazon store? Provide the Amazon store link. Is it, let's say, your LinkedIn because you're a consultant? Provide your LinkedIn page. So your portfolio, wherever is the place where you get your customers online from, provide that to the banking too, and better if it's your own domain that you have for that. Because the banking, when they're working with non-residents, they're working with high-risk profiles. And they're gonna need to make sure that you are operating within the guidelines that they have, that you don't have any prohibited activity, that you're not working with prohibited products or services, or anything related to gambling or adult, content, or anything related to guns and drugs or whatever. So there are some important things that you must take into consideration when you are applying. You are considered a high risk profile by default, and it's important that you are extremely honest and very well detailed in providing all the information related to your business.
And to make the process easier, we have a partnership with Mercury, Lily, and actually also Relay that you can apply for those bank accounts directly from our portal. So if you're a customer, you can log into our Globalfy's portal, and with a few clicks, start the application. We're going to submit your main documents to the bank. Of course, you're going to have to complete some additional information and some additional documents, but the process gets easier. And once you are Globalfy customers, you have a priority to customer service from them. So the process is pretty simple. You can do that directly from our platform. And you can, even on Mercury, we have a partnership with them. They're going to give you I think it's like $250 or $300 in credits if you make a deposit on the first month. So I mean, banking, it's going to be, of course, really important for our business. So as Eva was mentioned, make the application with careful, making sure that you're providing a really specific and really deep information about your business to increase the possibility of getting your company, your bank account approved, right? Here, my American, and then as we are wrapping up, so what happens after you have your company registered, right? What are the next steps? So to help you answer that, to help you understand that, we made a live class this past month. That's where we cover what you have to do on the first 100 days of your company. So we cover from trademarks to tax, banking, fund system, invoice platforms, and so on. So this is a free live class that is available on our YouTube channel under the tab of lives. And I would like to invite you to watch it because that's going to give you a clear view of the next steps after you have your company in the US. And Rodrigo, tell me here, man. How do leads and clients they can get in touch with us if they're looking to set up their company in the US?
Okay. So if you can always get in touch with us using our website, and there's a chat there. You can contact us, send us email, or contact us through WhatsApp. But the process of setting up the whole process is really easy, and it's fully online. So if you click on our website and then start a company, you choose your plan, then you choose the name, structure, and state of your company, also your contacts, and with all of that, you can do the payment online, and then you are good to go. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us through the website, email, or WhatsApp.
Yeah, so at sales at globalfy.com, or here's you also have a WhatsApp number where you're gonna get directly customer service from our team. And I would like just to make a final invitation here. We're gonna have another live class on. It's gonna be on July 16th, where we're gonna cover how to win your first clients in the US. So we're gonna cover like the main aspects of adapting your product, adapting your value proposition, and how does software, digital business, e-commerce, and international and companies looking for international expansions, how do they acquire their first customers? So the link to join the live class, it's going to be here in the chat and also on the video description, and it's completely free, right? So again, as I mentioned before, our goal here is to provide knowledge and help you and guide you towards the path of establishing and managing and growing, of course, your business in the US. Rodrigo, is there anything else that you'd like to add today?
No. I think I made like the most common questions during our conversation. So that's all from me.
Nice. Eva, anything else you'd like to add here before we answer the final question?
No, I was about to mention the last questions that we have. But yes, nothing else to add.
Nice. I mean, we have one question here on the YouTube chat that is from Chander, that can I open a business and use the details to migrate to the US? And we actually covered that in the beginning. So setting up a business, you don't have to have a visa to set up a business, but setting up a visa is not enough to apply for a visa or a green card or whatever to move to the US.
Only the fact that you have a business, like the way that we are mentioning it to you here, it doesn't grant you anything. The right thing to do is to seek for an immigration attorney, and then that person will guide you through the steps and what are the options available for you and what do you need to do in order to get that immigration visa. And then maybe in the process, you're gonna need to set up a business, but it's not always the case. So it's important that you talk to an immigration attorney to help you with that.
Nice. We have another question here, is that what does calligraphy fall under in the US? Probably what kind of service that would be considered, right?
Yes, exactly.
That's service. That's digital business online service.
Exactly. And let's say if you have a website and you provide calligraphy services, or maybe it's digital, or you deliver your services through a platform for download or something like this, it's considered digital services.
And isn't it amazing that nowadays, with internet, everything being digital, right? With more type than we write, there are services specifically made to help to create beautiful calligraphies,
and to bring back that feeling,
and to
right?
bring back that feeling
Yes,
of like have a nice signature and so on. So the internet, right? The globalization. Say globalization sounds something old people would talk, right?
Yeah.
So like the internet brings a lot of different options, right? A lot of different opportunities that couldn't exist like 10 years ago or 5 years ago. With AI, it would not exist 3 years ago, right? So we are here to guide you into the process of expanding that business in a global level. Make sure that you understand how to operate in the US in a legal way and that you feel comfortable to do that. And you can take your calligraphy business, your software development business, or the product that you made from your home country to the American market, the largest market in the world. So thank you very much for joining us here today. The video will be available here on our channel. Again, sign up for our live class next month. Watch our past videos, leave our comments here, subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share. This can be useful, really useful for someone in your network. Rodrigo, thank you very much for joining us today. It was a pleasure having you here with us.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for inviting for this opportunity.
And Eva, thank you very much for joining us again.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, for sending your questions, for participating in the chat. It was a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. My name is Diego Sampaio, co-founder of Globalfy. Looking to talk to you soon. Thanks so much. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.